may not be comfortable for all listeners. Certain viewpoints may not reflect those of our partners, sponsors, affiliates, our hosts, or that of our guests. We would like to encourage everybody to keep a respectful and open climate of discussion for all topics, no matter how disturbing they may be. So viewer discretion is advised.
You know this world has gone insane. It is absolutely no secret. But tonight, Saturday night, you are about to experience the true measures of what that insanity can bring you. Tonight, you are about to see Bonkers, the one-of-a-kind show that delves deep into the world with no holds barred. Now, meet your hosts, Dakota Franklin, specialist of the strange, and Crystal Mule, the UFO fanatic. Now, give it up, and let's see what these two idiots can bring you.
Hello guys, how are you, and welcome to the Saturday evening show. As you can see, Dakota has changed sex. This would be, Dakota is not here because he's in hospital having a hair transplant because he's moving, as you know guys, and he wants to impress those ladies of his new village. So please send out your love and your warm feelings to him while he's having this beautiful hair transplant.
Yes, it's hopefully soon, Dakota. He might even make an appearance tonight, you know. Hopefully you'll have that lovely wavy hair.
He's probably going to be chasing us after saying this, but there you go.
We're doing a talk about, let me say, Alcatraz tonight. Yeah. So I think me and you might
be in the cells with the spirits, Chris.
You know who's in the chat, don't you? You know who's in the chat. You see, it's
Is it our boss man?
It is. So Dakota, we'll have to tell the truth, Dakota, that you are getting a hair transplant. It's been a long time. It's took a long time to get this ready, but now it's happening for him, and we're so happy for him.
Oh yeah, definitely. And he's going to look beautiful with those gold locks, guys.
I know. Palladian locks, you know, locks. Was he blends
Palladian
in?
looks. Hell yeah, he's going to rock that look. Oh yeah.
I'm sorry, Dakota.
Say what
you
now?
can pair us after, you know.
Dakota, we love you. We just needed people to know so that they didn't have a heart attack or something when they see you the next time you're on the show.
Huh? Yeah, but look at it. There. What's it? For Bonkers Network. That's Mr. Boss Dakota there. You're all going to need Alcatraz. There you go.
You're all going to need Alcatraz. Probably. That's what we did say that just at the beginning. We're probably going to end up in the cells with the spirits by the time Dakota's finished with us.
Well, you know, we're missing you already, Dakota. We're missing you already.
We are. But on a serious note, guys, we are here tonight on our Saturday show. Dakota is away, obviously, because you know that he's moving and got lots of stuff going on. And so I'm here with lovely Chris to do the show that Chris would normally do with Dakota, and today's show is going to be about Alcatraz, which is going to be absolutely awesome. We've got lots of content and pictures to show you, so you should be in for a treat. I asked that everybody please share out and let people know that we're on. I'm going to do that quickly while we're here as well. Anything you want to say, Chris?
No, just please share this out. Please share this out, everybody. And if you're new, please subscribe, you know. I would just like to add too, tomorrow we have a special guest coming on too to co-host with me again, because obviously Dakota's getting his hair transplant. We have Mike, the Naked Bigfoot, coming on as my co-host, so that should be a very interesting show. And I'm not going to tell you what island it is, but it's an island of death in Venice, Italy. So that should be very interesting. So, Sherry, here we go. Here's a photo of the location
Dakota,
tonight.
you know we love you, really. You know we love you. We're just winding up. We're keeping it real.
What's he saying?
We're keeping it real. He goes, and here I had a surprise for you two. break a leg.
Dakota, it's fine. It's fine. Look, out of curiosity, I would like to say this, and you can check this out. They've actually found a cure for baldness in men. Did you know that? They have serious. Really it was on the news. So there you go. Dakota Bases running away. They're now checking that out. You know. But anyway, Sherry, how would you like to start the show off tonight? Which part of the Alcatraz theme would you like to go with tonight?
Well, I have kind of just done some research and some studying into it, and I've got like some stuff that I've wrote up, and it's up on the word sheet, and it's just information about Alcatraz and the different varieties of places it's been over the years. So I've got kind of that, and then it'll move on to Chris with his pictures and his amazing part for the show as well, because he's actually going to talk to you about the escape, the famous escape that happened with Alcatraz, guys. So you're going to really enjoy that. And still to this day, it's a mystery what happened to those three men. Did they drown? Nobody knows. Or did they escape? They don't know if they drowned or if they escaped. We will never know, I guess. The family of those men are convinced that they made it to Mexico. So that makes you wonder. More than likely. If you think about it, it's not really that far to swim out, is it? 2 to 3 miles. Like, if you're a good swimmer, I'm sure you could do it, you know what I mean? So the thing is, that's something I have to say that. The thing is, right, the thing about San Francisco Bay is it's one of the most deadliest waters in the world. Now here, I'll show you. Here's a picture here, right? Now you can see the distance there, 2.4 kilometres, which is what, 2 miles or something? About that, yeah. Yeah, but what makes it very, very dangerous is the fact the currents in the water. And it's major shipping lanes. Now, you could they actually did an experiment where people actually swum out with a life jacket on. Right down. And they get halfway out, and before they knew it, the current had taken them out to sea. So that just showed at different times of the year, which is very, very interesting. It would take an hour, it's saying, to swim from the island to land the other side. Well, they had 9 hours for the escape to make their getaway. So it makes you wonder. It does. And like I said, it could be very possible that they did make it, you know. It really does depend on how well they can swim and how lucky they were, I guess. Yeah. But so I will start with my part then, guys, and then we'll go on to Chris showing some really cool pictures that he got to do with the island and coming into the information about the famous escape by those 3 gentlemen. So I will bring up the work that I'm doing. So this information was got from the Britannica.com and it's information on the island. So Alcatraz Island, by name the Rocky Island in San Francisco Bay, California, USA. The island occupies an area of 52 acres, 9 hectares, and is located 1.5 miles to 2 km offshore. This island has little vegetation and was a seabird habitat where it was explored in 1775 by Lieutenant June Manuel de Alia, who named it Island de los Alcatrazes, Island of the Pelicans. Sold in 1849 to the US government, Alcatraz was the site of the first lighthouse in 1854 on the coast of California. Thereafter, other buildings were erected on the island, and the first permanent army detachment was stationed there in 1859. In 1861, the island was designated a residence for military offenders. Later prisoners included some of 19 Hopi Indians from the Arizona territory who passively resisted government attempts to assimilate them and American soldiers fighting in the Philippines, who had joined the Filipinos' cause in 1900s. In 1907, the island was designated the Pacific branch of the United States military prison. From 1934 to 1963, it served a federal prison for some of the most dangerous civilian prisoners. Among its famous denizens were A1 Copen, George, and Machine Gun Kelly, and Robert Stroud, the Birdman of Alcatraz, the subject of the 1962 film of the same name. Although Alcatraz potentially was able to house 450 convicts in cells that measured about 10 by 4.5 feet, 3 by 1.5 meters, no more than 250 prisoners ever occupied that island at one time. Escape attempts were rare, but a few inmates did escape from the island. Whether they survived the current of the bay is unknown. One during escape was popularized in the film Escape from Alcatraz. Eventually, the necessity of the transporting fresh water to and waste away from the island resulted in its abandonment in 1963. In March 1964, a group of Native Americans claimed the island, citing an 1868 treaty with the Sioux, allowing Indians from the reservations of claim any unoccupied government land. However, they occupied Alcatraz for only several hours in November 1969. Indian activities included members of the American Indian movement occupied the islands again, damaging the deed to the islands and refusing to leave until they were forced off by federal marshals in June 1971. The huddle used in American football was invented by the quarterback of a deaf team so that other teams wouldn't be able to see their signals. In 1972, Alcatraz became part of the newly created Golden Gate National Recreation Area. Although no effect had been made to repair the structures of the island, most have suffered general decay and weathering. And the historic lighthouse and 4 other buildings burned in 1970. The lighthouse survived, but the other buildings were largely destroyed. Alcatraz Island is now open to the public and is a popular tourist destination. Alcatraz escape of June 1962, jail from the supposedly escaped proof maximum security federal penitentiary of Alcatraz Island, California, on the night of June the 11th. After 6 months of malicious preparation, 3 inmates managed to break through it, but it is uncertain if they reached the mainland. The escape is thought by some to have factored into the decision to close Alcatraz prison less than a year later. Hang on a minute, I've gone all the way down to the bottom now. Where was that?
Well, I'll bring up some pictures when you're speaking about certain locations so people get a kind of grasp of what that...
Yeah, I've just lost a bit because the thing went too far. Hang on.
Let's take your time. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the 3 convicts there, and that's one of the masks that they used. But we have much more pictures here.
Here we here we go. Yeah. So the pictures that Chris is showing you are of the island and the men that escaped the prison.
Mm-hmm.
And as it said, they don't know if this was a reason to why the Alcatraz prison actually shut down just under a year later.
They say that they used it as an excuse to shut the prison.
Yeah.
Because it was meant to be impenetrable. It was meant to be unescapable. But
Yeah.
they three guys made it off it, and that's the nail in the coffin. Yeah.
Yeah. So the next part is a guard making a routine cell block head count on the early morning of June the 12th, 1962, came upon 3 inmates apparently still sleeping in their cells. Further investigations revealed that the inmates were in fact dummies' heads made from painted paper mache with hair glued on, and that it actually occupants of the actual occupants of the cells, the convicted armed robber Frank Morris and the convicted bank robber brother Clarence and John Aglian, were now nowhere to be found. The guards raised the alarms, and the warden in charge promptly notified states and the federal authorities, as well as the U.S. military, as an intensive manhunt begun. In the cells of the missing men, guards discovered the grill opening in the concrete back walls, which were 8 inches by 20 cm thick, had been laboriously enlarged with tools fastened from spoons stolen from the mess hall, fake grills also made from paper mache with paper taken from magazines in the prison. These guys were pretty clever.
They were.
The library had been used to hide the areas of excavation while work was still in progress. Authorities traced the path of Morris and the Aglian brothers through a utility corridor and up the back wall of the cell block, using plumbing piping as steps to the cell block roof. From there, the 3 lifted themselves up through a large ventilation shaft and reached to the roof of the building. Next, they used a large exterior pipe to slip 50 feet, which is 15 meters, to the ground. Then the men cut through the barbed wire and to the top of the perimeter fencing and scrambled down a steep embankment to the water's edge. Their subsequent movements are unclear. No one was known to have successfully escaped from Alcatraz, located some 1.5 miles to 2 km offshore in San Francisco Bay, since it became a federal penitentiary in 1934. For this reason, prisoners with a history of successful or attempt escapes elsewhere were often sent there. All 3 of the escapees fit into the category, and Morris and ringleader was flagged as an escape artist on prison records. He was also highly intelligent, and his plan made allowance for the difficulty of swimming to shore in the cold water and the strong current of the bay. It was his idea to build an inflatable raft by gluing together rubber raincoats that had been stolen from the prison shop where they were manufactured. Many details about these plots were supplied by Alan West, an inmate who was an active participant. but had failed to get out of his cell in time to join the others. West helped build both the raft and rubber life jackets using a makeshift workshop on the cell block roof, which he had been assigned to paint by guards who did not monitor him. The plotters used the same roof to store other equipment, such as the makeshift drill they used to remove the cover from the ventilation shafts. It is fairly certain that Morris and Anglines escaped from Alcatraz Island, but it is not known whether they successfully escaped to the mainland. Fragments of their rubber equipment were found on or near the Angle Island. A former immigration station that was their intended immediate destination from Angler Island to the men had intended to swim to the Marin Country mainland. According to the West and the still new clothes from a retail store, however, no such crime was reported. Some speculated that the men had died before reaching shore, although no bodies were found in the bay. They could have easily have been swept out to sea by the currents. The huddle used in America's football was invented by the quarterbacker of the deaf team so that other teams wouldn't be able to see the signals. In the ensuing years, there was supposedly several sightings of the escapees and messages from them. Reports of their survival were offered to the media by family members and former associates. The Federal Bureau of Investigation remained skeptical and closed its case in 1979, concluding that the three had drowned in the bay. Their story was dramatized in the film Escape from the Alcatraz in 1979, starring Clint Eastwood and Frank Morris. Alcatraz, former maximum security prison located on Alcatraz Island, San Francisco Bay of the coast of California. Alcatraz, originally envisioned as a naval defense fortification, was
I've actually
designed
got
as
pictures on that. I'll bring it
a
up for you.
residence for military offenders in 1861, and it housed a diverse collection of prisoners in the early years. These included 19 Hopi Indians from the Alcatraz territory who passively resisted government attempts to assimilate them, and American soldiers fighting in the Philippine-American War who had joined the Filipinos cause in 1900, and in 1907 the island was designed to pacificate branch of the United States military prison, and the modern prison building was completed 4 years later in 1933. 1933. The U.S. Army transferred control of the prison to the Civil Department of Justice, and from 1934 to 1963, Alcatraz served as a federal prison for some of the most dangerous convicts in the American penitentiary system. Among its famous denizens were A1 Capone, George the Machine Gun Kelly, and Robert Stroud, the Bird of Alcatraz.
I knew I had Al Capone somewhere. I've downloaded about 30 or 40 odd pictures.
Yeah. Although Alcatraz was able to house 450 convicts, its cells that measured about 10 feet by 4.5 feet to 3 meters by 1.5 meters. No more than 250 prisoners ever occupied the island at one time. Escape attempts were rare, and most escapes relied on the security of the subterfuge to reach the Pacific freedom of the waters of the San Francisco Bay from May the 2nd to May the 4th, 1946. However, a half dozen inmates participated in an escape attempt that was unprecedented in its violence, later dubbed the Battle of Alcatraz. The 48-hour incident began when prisoners overpowered their guards and obtained firearm and keys to cell blocks. Frustrated by a locked door, the prisoners exchanged gunfire with the remaining guards, and order was restored only when US Marines stormed to the cell blocks under a hail of grenades and rifle fires. 2 guards and 3 escapees were killed, and more than a dozen guards were wounded in the firefight. A few inmates did manage to escape from the island. Whether they survived the currents of the bay is unknown. One daring escape was popularized in the Clint Eastwood, the film Escape from Alcatraz. The handle used in American football was invented by the quarterback on a deaf team so that other teams would be able to see. Eventually, the cost associated with maintaining the prison, particularly the escape of transporting fresh water to the waste away from it, resulted in the closing of the faculty on March the 21st, 1963. From November the 20th to 1969 to June the 11th, 1971. The island was occupied by Native Americans. Activities including members of the American Indian movement who were protesting what they saw as the US government ongoing economic, social and political neglect of Native Americans. In 1972, the prison and its grounds became part of the newly created Golden Gate National Recreation Area, and Alcatraz remained one of San Francisco's most popular tourist destinations. And that is the information on Alcatraz. So Alcatraz was
well done.
First found out and distinguished as being a lighthouse. There was a lighthouse that first remained on there.
That's
then
right.
it was a military base and made for those reasons and to do obviously a lot of military activity and work and secret stuff. And then from that, part of the island then was made into the prison, which is where they did hold some of the most highly known prisoners of all time. Literally.
The military part is very interesting to me because I researched all the military stuff and you done the escape perfectly. Do you like how I managed to bring up the photos at the same time? Exactly what you're talking about.
I couldn't see them because I was too busy looking at the paper that I was looking at. But I kept seeing like the outside of it. But as well as that being the story and all of that behind Alcatraz, Alcatraz is mentioned and questioned to be one of the most haunted islands known, especially the prison. There have not been very many investigations done there. There's been a few, but they have been by famous names. And through the characteristics of those investigations, that they have not been short of activity. And it apparently most definitely stands up to its name when saying that it's one of the most haunted locations. It most definitely does.
Well, I've actually got some pictures. There of supposed spirits, but I'll show you some stuff in a minute, guys.
Yeah, well, we'll move on to you, Chris, now. You know what I mean? So, my side of the show was just me explaining to you a bit about
You've done a great job. You've done an amazing job. You've done an amazing job.
And what it was about. Now, Chris is going to move on to telling you about the escape in more detail, show you the pictures that he's got you, and he will show you some pictures about supposable paranormal phenomena that has happened there as well. So over to you, Chris.
Thank you very much, Jerry. It's just something that Mike said there that I found very interesting. I'll bring it up. The main thing I can remember about Alcatraz were the stories of the sharks that infested the waters around it. Now that makes you wonder.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder, did they eat the prisoners escaping?
It could very well do. I know that there's meant to be a lot of records on shark attacks and stuff, but to be quite honest, shark attacks are not as known as what people make it out to be. A lot of the time when humans and stuff are attacked by sharks, they accidentally mistaken you for being a seal or something, you know what I mean? So if they're splashing around and they're trying to get over to the other, it could be very possible that they got to.
See, I've got a kind of theory about this, right? Every half hour, a container ship goes past the island, right? In quite close contact. What happens if they had actually thought of a way of holding onto that container ship and getting on board it?
Well, if they've made these jackets and these blow-up stuff, like what they're saying, that could very well do, because obviously these guys, even though they were very, very well-known convicts, they were very clever by the sounds of it as well. So it wouldn't surprise me if they did make some sort of boat thing. And maybe they waited in the water, and when this ship container or something maybe come past, they attached themselves to it so they could get to the other side. Or there's a lot of things they could have done. They could have very well just got in the water and survived it. You don't know.
You see, I'll bring up the photos you were talking about their cell, right? And where is it? Right here, here's the cell, right? You see where the sink is in the middle, and you can see the little grill at the back. That's where they managed to dig that out. So they could get it, and they actually made a cardboard thing that sat over it. Everybody's seen the movie Escape from Alcatraz.
Oh yeah,
I mean, I watched it the other night just to get some information, because it is a very interesting film. Because here is actually the cardboard heads. Let's see. Yeah. And you can see the cutout. Yeah, you can see the cutout, and that actually leads into it's where all the pipes are. It's like a system.
It's the back area of the prison. It's where all of the piping and all of the where they actually walk to mend bits and stuff. They actually escape through that.
Exactly. And I don't know what happened to them. I'm not a psychic in any way, shape or form. I definitely think they did escape. They definitely made it.
I don't know why, but I don't get the feeling that they died. I do feel that they got away. I think that they made something that where they were able to sit in the water for so long, maybe in the corner of the island where they wouldn't be seen, and then when this ship come by, they were able to get out quick enough to attach themselves.
Yeah, that's what I think.
You know what I mean?
Well, here's some interesting photos that I've managed to gather. Here's an interesting one. This is actually from the
That's the guns, isn't it?
Yeah. That's from the 1890s. The main guns. But I've actually got, let me show you this one. These were the big guns. Look at these things. Yeah.
They're huge.
I mean, look at that. That's impressive. I mean, that's, for the podcast listeners, you need to watch the YouTube or the Facebook. It's to get the grasp on this. I mean, those things are massive. And obviously, today's weaponry is more superior than that. Obviously, these were just cannons. But a lot of people wonder how the men and the people got out to the island. And here's one of the boats. Here is one of the boats, which is, there was one right up until the 1970s before it gets scrapped.
Oh, it was a prison boat.
Yeah.
Like you would have had prison buses to take you to prison, or prison lorries. Yeah. They had a boat.
That's right. That's right. They had a boat. The boat. Yeah. But this is a photo that not many people get to see often. This is, come on, where's this, everybody? This is the dining area. This is the canteen.
This is the hall, the main area. Yeah.
But here's an interesting photo that I absolutely love. Now we all know for the film Escape from Alcatraz. The warden was ruthless. He was ruthless. He was one of the worst wardens ever.
Oh,
and
yeah.
He
done some really, really bad stuff to some of the inmates as well.
Oh, my God. Yeah. I mean,
he was cruel.
Yeah. It's quite interesting. It's quite interesting because he's got the President Kennedy. You can tell by the era he's got the President Kennedy in the wall. But that's what I brought up, Sherry, when you were talking about the masks. Because there's the masks.
Yeah.
What do you think of
That
that?
is what they done. Like, they did make masks and stuff. And it wouldn't surprise me that, like, I reckon that, you know, like, they made the masks to go in the bed. But I reckon they may have had some sort of mask on their faces when they left as well. So you couldn't really see them clearly.
Here's
You know.
Here we go. You can actually, I'll tell you something to do. That mask at the very end is meant to be the guy, the third one up. And I'll tell you something to do. He's done a good job here.
He has, yeah.
Very,
very. That's what I'm saying. They were very clever, and they most definitely knew what they were doing. And you know, as Chris said, and myself, this was a fertility that was built so that nobody could escape. That was the whole point of being took there. So you couldn't be escaped, and everybody would know where you were. You know what I mean?
It was one of the most maximum security facilities out there. I mean, it's at the time, if you escaped for jail or you were a troublemaker in a jail in the United States, they moved you to Alcatraz.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, here's actually an interesting photo. It tells you what everything is. I mean, it shows you've got the hospital unit down next to the harbour. I suppose that's where it would be in case they need to take you away in an emergency.
Yeah.
And then, but what I have got is I've got some kind of gruesome photos, actually, because I've actually got, where are we? The mortuary. The morgue. Now, obviously, it's built under the ground to keep it cold. San Francisco is
so
a
that
warm
the bodies
place.
didn't smell in that,
Oh, God, yeah. But I've got two photos here, right? Now, this is very interesting. The first one, there's nothing on it. Here we go. The first one, that is the mortuary. That table there, they would place the body on that table. They would do...
right
I don't know. Yeah, you'll see you see it there. But I actually went scouring the internet, ladies and gentlemen, to see if I could find any spooky pictures. Now, this was supposedly took in 2012 by a ghost hunting team. Tell me what you all see, Sharon. Tell me what you all see.
I see what you would class as a spirit mist.
Yes.
I'm seeing a lot of spirit mist around in the room. And it does look like there is a slight sort of face, like up in the air over in the corner.
There is. It's quite strange you should say that, because I was waiting for somebody to notice that. It's one of the, it's puzzling.
Like over here, can you see that?
Is that next to the fan in the window you're talking about?
Can you see my mouse going round?
No, can't see that.
If you look where the table is,
yep.
Yeah, look right up above it, just off to.
I see. Yep.
Off to, you can see
that
big
pipe
bit
coming
that's
down.
Out the wall.
Yep.
It looks like a head and like the top part of somebody's body.
I see that. Right there. Yep. That's so interesting. That is the morgue, the mortuary, which is...
Yeah, and they would have had to do it underground with this place, because if you think with it being that prison and being on that island, there wouldn't have been boats and everything every day that would be able to come and get the bodies. So they would have
I think it was every third day.
To hold them without it smelling or bringing any problems. So that's why they've done the underground.
That's what people don't realise. People think in the afternoon the people went home to their work in the mainland. They didn't.
No, they didn't.
The wardens.
A lot of these guards and stuff would have actually lived on the island, because it would have been too far to come in and out, and sometimes it would have been far too dangerous to even get on a boat and go across the water. Because as Chris was explaining to me earlier, the waters there were very, very dangerous a lot of the time. So getting on and off was very rare.
This is quite an interesting photo. This is from 1933, just before it became open to the kind of public. You know what I mean? Normal prisoners, no military prisoners. But here's an interesting photo for you, ladies and gentlemen. Tell us what you see, Sherry. We'll let somebody in the chat guess for a minute before you can see it.
I already know what this one is.
I can see it.
So I'll see if the guys say anything.
MD in the
Shannon
chat,
Madden
guys.
said it looks like an apparition.
Yep. You can see the person's face.
Yeah.
Top left-hand side.
Right in the corner bit.
Mm-hmm. Which is
Something
very interesting. Which is very interesting. I mean, you got to remember the spirits in this location's unbelievable.
It's supposed
you
to be
imagine-
like one of the most active prisons going, and the island, obviously. It's meant to be really, really active there. There's meant to be a lot of different things that go on. Everything from poltergeist activity to manifestations, voices.
Yeah.
There's even rumours and stories that sometimes you can even hear the cannons
Yes.
going off, even though they don't bang anymore.
Yes.
But you can hear this all going on. So, to me, this place has a lot of residual and intelligent on it, because these spirits are very capable of knowing what you're doing, and they're very capable of knowing why you're there. But at the same time, they've got the residual on it, because some of them overplay how they lived. Like, it's like, how do you explain it? It's like they've never left the prison. It's like they still live that life.
They're living it over and over. They're living their day. They're getting up.
It never
they're
changes.
getting up. They're getting up. They're going to the canteen. They're doing their thing. They're going to their bed. They're getting up.
And that's what a lot of this is, that they say that they hear. They'll hear people doing things like they're working on the grounds, or if they're doing stuff in the canteen. All of this stuff's supposed to be able to be heard. So it's like, when you walk there, even though it's empty and it's a shell now, you very much are still in the middle of what those inmates lived every day of their life. That they're still very much there.
It was really interesting, Sherry, when you were talking about Al Capone, because he died in 1947.
Yeah.
In the prison. There he's there, and he was quite a violent gangster. Let's put it that way. He was a bad man. He'd done a lot of bad things, a lot of murders.
There would have been certain prisoners in that cell that would have been treated a little bit better than other ones, you know what I mean? Like, if they've been really known or they've been in for a very long time, that some of them used to get favoured by the prison guards, you know what I mean? Especially if they were dodgy.
I mean,
and things like that.
It does amaze me. It amazes me to this day, that prison. Can you imagine the energy? So you got to remember, because of the outbreak that we've been suffering for the last 2 to 3 years, there's been hardly anybody on that island.
But you think about all of the history, like before it was a prison, it was like a military place. It was all these other sorts of things where
you go there.
Where there's been reports of quite negative things happen. So this island is surrounded by negativity and bad things, and it's very secluded, so it's very hard to get to. So I can understand why they would want to make a fertility like that in a place like that, because they're not really going to get away. Like, they didn't think that they're going to get away. But
they are still stuck on that island. You think of the spirits that don't know they're dead. That don't know they're dead.
There's a lot of that.
Island.
It's all mixed there.
You think of the spirits that are kept there, but evil spirits. No letting them escape. But now, there's been quite a few investigations. So there was Ghost Adventurers, and then there was who else was on the island?
I swear that there was I can't remember the names of the other ones. I know that there was a couple of known shows like back in the day that went there.
Yeah.
I'm sure one of the ghost hunting teams in America went there as well. I can't remember, ghost hunters or ghosting, and I don't know, something like that.
I know the Ghost Adventurers have been there.
Yeah, Ghost Adventures definitely have. That's when I see it.
That's when they started off.
Yeah, that's when I actually come to understand and find out about Alcatraz. I didn't realise until I watched Ghost Adventures and see them there, and there was a lot of activity going on. And then I did look into it a little bit more, like investigation-wise, and there was a few teams that had been there and experienced a lot of things.
You can actually read it up, Sherry. You can actually read this, Sherry. There's actually prisoners that are dead now. But when they were in the jail before they were moved, before it got closed, they'd be in their beds at night and they would see prisoners walking right through walls. Former prisoners walking right through the walls, and there's a lot of stories about how even prisoners, how scared they were, like the solitary confinement.
I have looked up, like I said, I have looked up on things about it, and I had seen little stories like this where the activity for the paranormal hasn't been a recent thing. It's been going on for many, 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 many years. And like Chris said, you know, there would be some inmates and some military people that actually had experiences with the other side while they were on that island.
Yeah, you think
Quite
of the deaths that's on that island, people will be like, well, what do you mean? How
people are going to be lost and going to be unsettled. So, like you said as well, some of them won't even realise they're dead. Some of them wouldn't realise they're dead.
The suicides that was on that island when it was a prison was ridiculous.
There was a lot of suicides. And then there was
the people that were murdered because they pissed off other inmates.
Well, it was one of the most highly looked after prison with some of the most deadly inmates in there. You could very much see that there was murders that went on within them walls, and most definitely suicide. Do you imagine living in a 3.4 width cell by 1.5, and most of your day would recall in you just sitting in that cell? You would maybe get probably about an hour.
20 minutes.
It was about 20 minutes
a day
to an hour.
outside.
It was 20 minutes in the morning and 20 minutes in the early evening, from what I remember, where they would be able to go out to have a little bit of exercise, and all they could do was walk in the quarry in the yard and walk in a circle. That's all they were allowed to do. They weren't allowed to go around the island or do anything like that. They were confined most of the time to their cells.
I mean, can you imagine being sentenced to 30 years in that?
Exactly, being stuck in that for 30 years, you'd send yourself crazy. I'm not being funny. I think I'd want to try and escape being stuck like. That's just it's mad. And being in the situations as well in that, back in the day, like, I'm not saying that prisons are much better now, but they're not like they were back then. You know what I mean?
God, no.
Back then, there was a lot more sexual assault and bodily abuse, and even some of the guards themselves were crooks and then murdered some of the inmates and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know,
it's shocking.
They were treated bad.
It really is. It really is. I mean, there's what it looks like today. That's a drone that's took that picture. You can see how dilapidated it's getting and how it's falling apart.
Don't get me wrong. I do believe that when you do wrong, that you should stand for what you've done, and you should be punished. But the way that some of these inmates were treated, and the way that they had to live, that is a letdown to the government. That is a letdown to people themselves. You know what I mean? Like, even the worst of the worst people, nobody deserves to live in that sort of way. It's awful.
The cruelty.
And I don't believe that all of them inmates would have been. Some of these inmates would have been actually innocent. Some of them hadn't actually done anything. You know what I mean? They've been in one prison, put in prison for something they didn't do. They've obviously played up, kicked off. This prison didn't like it. They've been sent off to this horrible place. You know what I mean? So some of them were in there for no reason. You know, but a lot of them were bad people, but still living in like a life like that and being treated the way you'd think going into these sort of locations that the people that are disciplining you would know how to act and not be like malicious and evil the way that they were. But sadly, they're no better than the inmates themselves, to be quite honest.
I think I would honestly go mad. I mean, there's
look at how tiny it is.
I know.
Living in that, you would live in that for 23 hours of your life. For 23 hours of your life, every day, you would live in this cell, okay? Only an hour, like I said, about 20 minutes to half an hour in the morning, 20 minutes to half an hour in the evening. An hour for exercise, that was all they got. The rest of it, you'd be stuck in that place doing nothing.
There's a comment from Dakota there.
There's Mr. Dakota.
He was also notoriously afraid. Are you talking about Al Capone? Dakota, are you talking about Al Capone? Hey, Raymond. Were you talking about
They
Al
are,
Capone?
yes. They are. Sharks definitely are attracted to rapid movement. That's what I said. That's why they mistaken some of us for being like seals and stuff like that, don't they? And
Yeah.
he was also notoriously afraid of ghosts. Yeah. And, you know,
Yeah.
they've probably
Hey, Lisa.
witnessed some of the worst spirits in that place you could ever come across. You know what I mean? Convicts and God knows what else that was on that island. You know what I mean? Like, and it was took over by some native Indians and stuff at some point, and they done a lot of different rituals and mad stuff. So you can imagine what might be lurking in the corners of that building.
There's Lisa Fry says,
Hello, Lisa.
my grandmother had to hide Capone in her basement. Really? My God.
Really?
Oh, wow. Look at this, as we go. He actually saved her life when her husband was beating her to death.
I tried to tell him to just join the show.
Wow.
My grandpa had to hide the Capone in her basement. That's nuts. That is crazy. You'll need to tell us about that next week when you're on, Lisa. Lisa will be joining me next Saturday, guys, as a co-host as we interview Barry Fitzgerald. They actually served her life when her husband was being beaten to death. Totally off subject. Wow. What a sad place. I've not been, but it just has that feeling for sure. Yeah, like I've got spiritual abilities, and just looking at the pictures, I can feel like the pain and the confusion, anger. There's a lot of mixed emotion there, and you know, for a lot of them, that will be their resting place. That's where they died, and you know, that's where they stayed. That even when they died, they didn't get took back to family. They would be buried on the island. So
you think it'd be the prison officers that want that too? Stuck in the loop.
Everybody that was on that island more than likely was buried on there, because there wasn't much time that you could get off of it, if being fair, you know what I mean? So I tried to tell him just to join the show. I don't know what she's on about.
That's Dakota. Dakota, if you can hear us out there in the mad internet world, join the show, Dakota. Come in.
Yeah,
Mr.
Dakota was actually going to be coming up to talk to you guys about it a little bit as well at some point. But have you done the stuff on the escape of the prisoners?
Yeah, you did the escape. So I just showed the pictures when you were doing it, and you did a great job.
It was a very notoriously known escape, and one that to this very day is still spoke about. And still not fully understanding what actually happened to these three guys either. But either way, these guys were the masterminds in prison by far, because they actually did achieve to get away from it fully. You know what I mean? So whatever happened to them, they still escaped.
Yeah, I think you need to go there one day, Sherry. An investigation. Would you like to go
there?
I
would like to, but I think I would get overloaded with all of the emotion and that, because I don't even have to go there. And I'm looking at the pictures, I can feel the anger and the upset. I don't know why, but when I'm looking at some of the pictures, I feel very sick. Like I feel like really horrible feelings in the back of my throat, like some of them may have been poisoned. I do feel a lot of that, loads of things.
You know it must have been terrible. You know it must have been terrible, Sherry. Those prisoners looking across the bay to San Francisco, and there's people going about their usual day, their usual business, their houses, kids playing.
Can you imagine how tormenting that would be? That you could look out your windows and still see, like, life, how they would have it if they didn't do what they did. You know, you're constantly tormented every day looking at that island, wishing that you'd done something differently, or you'd been different, and then knowing that you're never probably going to get out of these walls.
God.
You know, it must have been awful. Like I'm saying, when you do wrong, you should pay the price, but not the way that some of these people were treated. Not at all.
There was people in there that hadn't done much at all. What had happened is they maybe committed a crime, a stupid crime, and they've been sentenced to 3 years in jail. and because their prison was full, they were transferred to that. And what a lot of people don't realise too is it was a federal prison. And the difference
Very
between
strict.
that is if you did a federal crime, you ended up there. So if you didn't pay your taxes, say you owed $500,000 in taxes, right, and you didn't pay them, right, you ended up in Alcatraz because it's a federal crime.
Same with like things like murders and stuff like that. You would end up there as well. But like Chris said, there were people that were in there for petty crimes, like what we would probably get 3 to 6 weeks now in prison. They would get 3 years. Now you think if you're a poor guy that nicks something for you and your family, if you were caught, you'd go to a normal prison. You're in prison. You're finding this unfair. You've got people bullying you. You've got people starting on you, so you start back with them because you're defending yourself. That automatically, to the guards and that, is that you're trouble, yeah? So if that happened several times and that, yeah, they would have carted you off to Alcatraz, you know what I mean? And he was in there, you know, some of these people have been in there, like Chris said, for very petty crimes, which you shouldn't have got 3 years for. Like, and I'm not being funny, but anybody with a common sense, like, okay, I'm not a bad person. I was doing this so that me and my family could survive. If there's going to be people in there picking on them, disrespecting them, the guards doing stuff to them as well, they're going to kick off. But because the guards had that authority, because the guards had that strength and that power over him, what they said went. So it didn't matter how innocent you was, and it don't matter if you didn't start it off. The guards weren't going to say that, were they? So some of these poor people ended up in this most scariest place that they shouldn't have been in, because they're not murderers, they're not these sort of people. You imagine living your life constantly looking over your shoulder, wondering if somebody's going to put a knife into you or somebody's going to do something, because that is what some of these people
they made things called shanks up.
And killers and sexual abusers and all of these sort of people that fiddled and frauded and, you know, not nice people. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So
I was just actually uploading a couple of pictures there tomorrow. I want to show some people the location we're talking about tomorrow with Mike. The Naked Bigfoot is joining me as my co-host for tomorrow. Everybody knows the island. It's an island in Italy. It's in Venice.
Absolutely amazing.
Yes. I'm going to show you a couple of photos. I'm not going to tell you the name because you'll have to go and look. Trust me.
So is Dakota coming up or not?
I'm waiting Dakota coming up. If you Dakota, please come up.
Boss man, you coming up?
It maybe come up after the show, but this place tomorrow, guys, is one of the worst places ever. This place tomorrow, there's an estimated 176,000 dead bodies. Yeah. Now, I'm going to show you these pictures really quickly about tomorrow. This is the location tomorrow. We know what we're talking about. It's I'm going to butcher the name. It's Pervile in Venice, Italy. And me and Mike, the Naked Bigfoot, will be discussing this. Now, the reason it's called the Burning Grounds is because that's where all the bodies are. 170,000
the ashes
bodies.
Of the bodies.
And here's a quick picture just to show you. That's just one. And here's the second one. Now, to see more of that, guys, tune in tomorrow night.
At 10 p.m.
At 10 p.m. And believe me, it's going to be an awesome night, especially with Mike, the Naked Bigfoot, because he's awesome. And my goodness, he's back from his hair transplant. Did it go? Is it successful?
Let's see, my signals cooperate with.
So how are you? Look at him.
Oh, he's there.
He's there. He's
my signal's behind slightly, so I didn't see Dakota come up. I could just hear him.
I could hear him. You can see him. So Dakota, how are you? How's things?
Yeah, we're hanging in there.
Busy.
Yes, very much so.
So Dakota,
we said what we said to you at the beginning of the show to try and make you laugh, Dakota, because we knew you'd be stressing your head out. So don't be blaming me.
Yeah, no.
Oh my God.
Anybody that knows the Bold and Bonker crew, we all like to have a bit of a joke and a laugh every now and again. There's nothing wrong with that. We all know that we love Dakota and he does an awesome job for this company and he does absolutely amazing stuff. So he's awesome.
So Dakota, do you have any wise words for the mere mortals in the chat and us guys?
It wasn't. You guys did do a pretty good job. My signal kept cutting out when I was trying to pop on earlier, but the figures, right? You can't even have a day off. Like I said, I have a debug box that's deciding to move by itself miles away.
I think you should send that to Sherry.
Yeah, have it. She goes to open a package.
Do you realise I would have a bloody field day with it? Those things do not bother me at all. But I'm not there in Dakota's house, and I have not got to witness this thing, so I can't really say that. So I'm not going to be disrespectful to it in case something happens to Mr. Dakota there. So I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with it, but aren't we meant to be investigators? So we'd find things like that fascinating. A box that mysteriously turns up in his house that he put in storage, and it just turns back up in his house. Like,
it's coming for you. It's coming to you.
It's weird.
There you go. You should send it to Mike, the Naked Bigfoot. He's into the kind of things. He would have it in his mantelpiece. He could sit and have it in front of his bed or something like that. He'd be right into that.
Oh, Mike would love it.
Oh, yeah, he would. But I do have a question for Mike tomorrow. Or I can ask him now if he's still in the chat. But
Mike,
a bit of
news. Still there, Mike? Mr. Mike?
Mike. Come to the light, Mike. Come to the light.
Dakota has a question for you, sweet.
Oh, well, I guess him doing a movie with Dave Schrader is not good enough for him.
Right.
I know.
Yeah, no, literally, there was a message that come up in our messenger box, and it was Dakota saying, just found a dibby box. It's just turned up in the house, and I was asking him all these questions. How did it get there? Did it turn up on its own, or did you forget you didn't put it out? And he was like, no, it was put away and in storage, and it's somehow turned back up here. So Dakota thinks it may just be an energy that's a little bit lonely and didn't want to be away from him. So Dakota's going to have to keep an eye on it while he's travelling.
I think we should do a special show just on that box one night.
Yeah, maybe when I get settled.
You know,
where is the box?
Where
right.
Is it near you?
It's right here.
Let me see.
Strange.
It doesn't feel unpleasant, but I would be weary.
Yeah.
It's definitely got two sides to it, whatever's in the box.
You better watch, there might be a succubus or an incubus in that. Do I open
that? I
that?
did a succubus before, but oh wait, shit.
Close your ears, guys.
I think Mike's out wandering through his woods again, you know. I went and dropped my phone there, that's terrible.
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
not seeing Mike, so Mike must have disappeared.
Oh, well, we'll try to get him tomorrow.
Yeah.
We'll probably see the end of the show and see you saying that you wanted to talk to him, and he'll probably contact you anyway.
So, Dakota, do you want to tell everybody anything before you go?
All right, well, I do have a little bit of news that I've been working on some stuff on the side. The store is getting a bunch of new products uploaded as we speak, so because of the Pleiadian hair transplant, Chris, there's plenty of sex toys dedicated to you.
Well, you know Sherry's into that kind of thing anyway, so that kind of thing, you know.
And I'm not ashamed to say it. I don't care. If you don't like it, walk the other way.
You know, Dakota, that your mother's in the chat, don't you?
Yes, I'm well aware my mother's in the chat.
I'm sure she's heard it all before. I'm sure she's not shocked. This is Dakota and everybody else. She's been watching us long enough.
Yeah, this is one of the few people still alive that dealt with me the longest. So,
yeah.
She's seen some shit.
Oh God.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
And we also have entered a special new partnership. It's mostly for legal stuff, for patents. It honestly made me cross my eyes go cross, and was trying to read through it. But we do now have some new friendships with some of the biggest companies in the world right now to help us on the legal side. Yeah, it's a nonprofit that helps deal with what's called patent trolls, basically people that go to sue companies for random stuff and usually ended up winning. So we entered this partnership, which would allow us to work with these companies to fight these lawsuits as well as trade off any resources we have, which means we are now partnered up with Google, Netflix, Amazon. There's like 2,200 member companies, and Bonkers is the latest member. So hopefully we won't have to go down that road, but it's good to have friends in high places type thing.
Very cool.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
good.
definitely.
So what other news do you have, Dakota? I know that you have something there, something secret that you want to tell us.
Well, it's not really a secret. As some of you have been following the show for a while, and Lisa, you may want to check your email. This involves you too. Some of you may know that we have been in discussion for a documentary.
Yes.
Well, things are starting to move forward. As Chris can help verify, we have been discussing things with some of our more popular guests, Barry Fitzgerald, Dave Schrader, Elena Denon. She actually just got a hold of me before the show started. So she's all good to go.
I bet Chris will be very happy then.
Don't worry, Scotty's ready.
I'm sure Mommy would like to see Scotty.
Oh,
yeah,
God. Sometimes I wonder.
She said that. We do have some more networks showing some interest in helping us out, but because we are a newer company, barely hitting our 1-year anniversary, they want to see if we can actually put up or shut up type thing.
Right.
So like I said, we've reached out to some of our famous friends to help us out, and hopefully, being that how we're setting it up will allow it to where we're not stressing too much about figuring out time zones and all that fun stuff, because I know there's a certain lady in the chat who likes to make up her own time zones. Lisa.
I was about to say, not me.
You know we love you, Lisa, but basically, what we're going to want to do is try to put together a new trailer that does kind of show more of what we envision for this. So in order to do that, to show that we're serious about this endeavor, we've contacted some of our most famous friends, and most of them have gotten back to me saying yes. So that's definitely going to be a good one. My goal is going to try to get the new trailer ready for a special episode we have coming up at the beginning of October with Christina Gomez. So that'll definitely be interesting.
Looking forward to that. That's quite interesting.
A lot of good stuff coming.
Oh yeah. So Dakota, what's happening for you tomorrow? It's the big move tomorrow, isn't it? So.
Well, because we've had a few snags with the new house, we're going to be staying with a friend of my mother's for a couple of weeks, so it's dragging on even more. But yeah, tomorrow I may pop in a little bit before the show to talk to Mike since he disappeared on us.
There's a question for you, Dakota. What's the name of the documentary? And look at that, I'm wearing the documentary T-shirt.
I don't know, we might have to switch it up a little bit there, Chris.
Oh,
so is that the one where we've got? So when you're saying that the trailer has to be changed, is that the one where I'm doing the alien communication? They want the trailer to be different.
That brought their attention, but I bragged a little too much about some of the bigger names that we've been talking with, so they want to see if I
Now
can
they
actually
want to
do
see
it.
that in there as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
I get that.
No, they're just wanting to make sure that they're not wasting their time. I get what these guys are trying to do. I've been working with them for several films before. And Kelly, to answer your question, the working title, which means that it could probably change down the line, is We Are Light.
Yeah.
Yes. Should be an interesting, I think the new trailer will be good. It'll be awesome. The first trailer was brilliant, but
I loved the first trailer.
Huh?
It's got me getting possessed by an alien.
Aye. What more could you want?
Yeah, leave it to Sherry to brag about something going inside of her.
Oh,
well, that is what it did. Not in that way, guys, so don't be dirty.
There you go. If MDs want to remake the Alien movies,
I did not
Sherry's
have
available.
any interaction with a spirit or an AT before you start thinking in the room, guys, okay? It went into my body because it wanted to communicate.
It's okay, Sherry.
You're not helping your case.
It's not. I mean, there's Lisa. Oh my God.
Guys, you're only going to get Sherry one way. Like, Sherry really doesn't really care how things come out, and sometimes it might sound a bit like, but if it makes you laugh, I'm happy. There you go.
Yeah.
And Dakota's always like, oh my God, did you just say that? Yes.
Don't say I'm bad, but then you go off like that.
There's Kelly asking if we're putting up the link for the trailer. We'll have to remake the trailer again, obviously. So once it's remade up, put it up.
The first trailer is available on the Bald and Bonkers YouTube channel.
It is, yeah.
Yes.
You can
as well as so. Yeah, I know she's one of our newer ones, so I know what you're saying, Kelly. Chris is just kind of an idiot sometimes.
What do you mean?
She's a new fan.
It's a new fan. See, it's a new fan.
Very nice to meet you, Kelly.
There you go.
And welcome to
Kelly.
the crazy world.
Yes. Where Sherry gets possessed by aliens. What more can you want?
Yep, they actually enter me to communicate.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Where's
and
Mike
these
to make a
guys
big
always
when you want
have a dirty mind and try and change your head to being dirty. So don't be influenced by them. Okay.
I just got to thinking. I should probably look up to see if we can start selling straight jackets in the store.
I think that's a good
Why?
point.
To put me in one. I don't mind modelling it.
Thank you, Lisa. Lisa's off. Catch you later, Lisa, and we'll see you next.
Bye, Lisa.
Saturday. So, ladies and gentlemen, we'll end the show tonight, guys, and we can talk behind the scenes. So, I hope everybody comes tomorrow, and I hope you all enjoyed this show tonight, guys, because I think it was awesome.
Thank you for joining, and thank you for tuning in.
Yes.
And we'll see you very soon.
Yes, we will. Dakota, do you want to say anything before I end the show?
Stay safe, stay cool, and keep an eye on the skies because there's weird shit happening.
And there's aliens coming to see Sherry.
They're coming to get you.
One! All right.